Good morning and welcome to the little apartment on the prairie. Isaac and I are off on an adventure. Thought you'd like to come along with us. We're going to go check out this area that used to be a little town in Nebraska where there may or may not be anything left to see. There may be a couple old buildings or maybe just some foundations. I don't know. We're going to go check it out. Because what better activity is there to do when you want to get out of the house during a pandemic than exploring a ghost town, right? And speaking of ghost towns, I'm going to put a link down in the description to a YouTube channel by this guy who bought a ghost town called Cerro Gordo in California. And it's the most awesome thing ever. He lives in this ghost town and explores it and is restoring these old buildings. I'm so jealous. I thought about emailing and asking if I could go stay with him for a few months and explore the ghost town and whatever, and that wouldn't be creepy, would it? Yeah, but I am jealous that I can't buy my own ghost town. And it turns out that this town of Mayberry is out near a place where I went fishing sometimes in the summer, and I'm going to put a link in the description of a drive I took out there so you can see what it looked like in the summer when it was prettier. And so I'll show you when we get there. We'll see if we see anything. We may not, but you know, it's kind of cold outside. It's 37 degrees, but feels more like 30. But it's sunny out and it's a good day to get out of the house. So we'll see what we find. Okay, I think this is the general area I'm looking for, but I don't know specifically. You know, we're just gonna kind of wander around a little bit and see what we see. Let's see. That's private. See, Mayberry, 1898. There's a little sign. Okay, so we're in the right place. That doesn't mean we're gonna see anything. Oh, there's a cow. Well, it's always fun to see cows. Okay, so we're in the right place. So there used to be a town here. Somewhere. Now, I don't know if we're going to see anything now or not, but there used to be a town. There's probably a cemetery around somewhere. I know they had a post office. I don't remember what else they had. Well, I guess we will see, won't we? So I'll just fast forward and stick this in here right now. I came home and reread some of the research I'd done on Mayberry. I'd looked at information on some other towns, so I couldn't remember all the details, but there was a post office there that opened in 1850 something, 58 I think. I'm not looking at the information right now, but I just read it a few minutes ago. And it closed in 1930. There were 3 stores, a barber shop, a doctor's office. There was a community hall that was upstairs on the 2nd floor of the building that held one of the stores and it was like a general store, and the doctor's office and the barber shop. There was a livery barn. There was a church. There was a brick factory. And I don't know how many houses or farms, and there probably was a school, although I didn't read anything about the school. So it's just fascinating to me, a brick factory, a whole factory. There has to be some remnants of that out there somewhere. I want to find out where it is, and I can probably do that. And if a lot of this is probably on private property where it's probably fenced off, like the brick factory might now be somebody's cow pasture, because that happens around here. Well, maybe not with factories, but there are old houses that are just old farmhouses that are falling apart that are in the middle of cow pastures, where, you know, even if it's not a cow pasture, if it's on fenced land, I'm not gonna walk on it, or if it's way back from the road, I'm not gonna walk through the middle of somebody's land. If it's right by the road and I can get to it without climbing a barbed wire fence or something, I'll go and walk around it. Not if there are a bunch of cows around it, though, because I don't want to disturb the cows. But you know, in cases where I'd have to be walking through somebody's hay field or cow pasture or trees or whatever, looking for foundations, I'm not doing that, obviously, without permission. I'm guessing some people out here would probably give me permission to come look at stuff on their land if I can find, if I can hook up with the people. And there is a historical society in that county, also in the county in which I live. And they probably have a Facebook group on the historical society for that county. There is for the historical society of the county I live in, because I belong to it on Facebook, and people don't post a lot, but occasionally somebody will post a picture of like an old one-room schoolhouse, or they'll ask a question about, does anybody remember when this building was here and stuff. So I can probably find out more about that if I want to, but that's just fascinating to me. So all we saw today was that one building and that church that was a little ways away. That was not the church that was in Mayberry. But it's just interesting to me. I love kind of that part of history and just learning about who lived in that area and what it was like to live then. Okay, so let's go back to our adventures. Okay, so right here we go. Here's an old fallen down house. We're going to get close enough to look at it. We're not going to go in it because that would be trespassing and it might fall down on our head. But we're going to get a look. You see windows up there? There's like still glass in one of those windows. Let's see what we can see in there. There's something else, like a little outbuilding over there. I'm just fascinated by stuff like this. Like, I wish I knew like who lived here, and looks like it had gas lighting. There's still some glass in the window up there too. Covered up an old well. Fascinating. Look how pretty the view is too. Like, I'd like to live out here. Well, that might be all we're gonna find, is that one falling down house. I know I'm in the right area because there was actually a sign that said Mayberry, established 1898, but I'm not seeing, I don't really know where else I'm looking for stuff. But that's so interesting to me. Like, I'd love to know more. Like, I'd love to know who lived there, but more than that, like, I'd like to know what it was like to live there, like to step out the back door and get water from that well and heat it on the cook stove to feed your family. And, I want to know, like, the stories of what it was like to live then. That's just the kind of stuff that fascinates me. Maybe I'll see if I can find a map online that would show kind of where the post office and other stuff is. There probably was a school too. On these rural roads, here like in Nebraska, where the roads are kind of laid out like a grid, there was usually a school about every 4 miles, because that way wherever a kid lived, they would have to walk no more than 2 miles to get to school. So there are little one-room schools about every 4 miles on these roads, most of which are now, fallen down and stuff. But, there would have been schools out here somewhere that we've been driving past today. There would have been a school on some of these corners. And that looks like it might be an old church, or maybe not even that old. I see a steeple up ahead. There's a church anyway, I think. But, that house was interesting because they had a big well, like a brick well. They didn't have a windmill, and a lot of these houses had windmills to pump water. So that well would have had it didn't even look like it had a hand pump unless it used to have one and it was removed. It looked like they would have actually like drawn water with a bucket. Which is just interesting. So they probably didn't have gas lights when the house was built, but yet it did look like they'd had gas light fixtures put in. There were fixtures in the ceiling that look to me like they would have been gas lights. Maybe that's not a church. Maybe that's some sort of a barn with a steeple on it. That's weird. Never know what you're gonna find out here, right? Found some cows. It's never hard to find cows. Little pond over there. Oh, you can't see that. My window. It's not as pretty as it is in the summer, but it's still pretty, I think. Yeah, look at that. Look at that building over there. That is a strange looking building. I gotta get closer so I can see what the heck. Oh, that is a church because there's a cemetery behind it. Great, we'll go look at that. That seems interesting. Alright, Salem United Church of Christ, which is clearly a church that's still in use. Although from a distance, from the back of the building, I couldn't tell if it was a church or an old barn. Here's an old cemetery. My phone's about out of room to record. I like old cemeteries. This one's kind of kept in good condition, you can see. Alright, it's also cold out here. There's that nice view. There's Nebraska in December. It looks like this all winter except when it's white because there's snow on the ground. Alright, so that's the end of our adventures today. We are back home and going to relax a little bit. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And let me know some interesting tidbits about the history where you live, because that kind of thing is just really interesting to me. Everybody have a good evening and stay safe out there.